Coming up tonight in Our News, the health minister provides an update on that deadly coronavirus. Plus, we hear from a Bahamian woman living in the city at the center of the virus. And the finance minister reveals the cost to keep the Grand Lucayan open.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, it is costing government a pretty penny to keep 9 Bahamians who recently returned home from China under quarantine, according to Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands. He revealed at least one person is under quarantine on Grand Bahama.
Quite a bit, because you have to provide not only accommodations but food. And there are other personal needs that have to be attended to. You have to provide staffing. There's medical care that goes along with it. So it is not an inexpensive proposition.
Government recently implemented a 14-day quarantine for Bahamians who have visited China within the past 20 days. Sands said 160 Bahamians were in China at the time of the coronavirus outbreak. Sands would not say how much it is costing government to quarantine persons.
Can you give like an estimate of how much we're talking, a ballpark figure?
No.
We also asked the health minister if those Bahamians under quarantine are at the same location.
For those on the respective islands, are they all contained in like the same facility?
I don't think we're minded to say.
Are they being held in government facilities or like their own personal facility, like spaces?
I think you're trying to get me to go in a roundabout way to answer a question that I've already told you I'm not going to answer.
Bahamians have taken to social media and suggested that Bahamians at the epicenter of the outbreak should remain in China. Sands said it's an emotional topic and added there are concerned family members who want their loved ones currently in China to come home.
As you can imagine, this is a very, very emotive topic, and that people would love to have their family members home. On the flip side of the argument, you run the risk of importing coronavirus, novel coronavirus, into the Bahamas, with the resultant impact on our healthcare system, on the economy, on our tourism product, etc.
As 9 Bahamians who recently returned home from China remain under quarantine, a Bahamian woman who is currently in Wuhan says she finds some social media comments disheartening. She insisted those Bahamians who are still living in the epicenter of the coronavirus need support from persons here at home. However, it's difficult to read the comments by those who don't want them to return home.
I am in the center hub of this all, Wuhan.
31-year-old Lynette Colbrook is a PhD student living in the city at the epicenter of the novel coronavirus.
All the restaurants and the majority of the businesses are closed down.
So are all the public buses and subway, meaning Colbrook and her nearly 2-year-old daughter are mostly confined to their community.
I need to stay home where it's safe and I can take care of my little one.
Many Bahamians have expressed support for the government-imposed travel restrictions, citing concerns that the virus could end up spreading to the Bahamas. Colbrook, who says she no doubt wants to return home, is discouraged by some of the comments she's read on social media.
It's difficult looking on Facebook and seeing some people saying, stay there, don't bring that here, don't come back, wait till it passes, because it's very disheartening.
Here at home, 9 people have been quarantined on the heels of a government ban on non-resident travelers who have visited China in the past 20 days. More than 360 people have died from the disease in China, where there are upwards of 17,000 cases. Colbrook says people there are frightened.
Everybody's fearful, and that fearful creates a hole in your hope, the hope that you have for humanity.
Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands says there were 160 Bahamians in China during the outbreak of the virus. One of them is Colbrook's daughter, who attends school in the district. She says now that they are in shutdown mode, she doesn't let the toddler out of her sight.
I strap her close to my body. I don't want anybody near her. I want to be able to just jump away if somebody comes even close. So I keep her strapped to my body, or I have her in a stroller with a blanket or a plastic covering over her while we're wearing our masks.
As questions linger over the $16 million government allocated for operational costs at the Grand Lucayan Resort, Finance Minister Peter Turnquest revealed government spends $1 million a month on the resort. Kyle Joaquin reports.
In addition to the $65 million that it costs to purchase it, that we have had to support the operations since we've acquired it. And it's somewhere around $1.2 million a month or thereabout.
It cost the government just over $1 million to keep things going at the Grand Lucayan Resort, according to Finance Minister Peter Turnquest, who told Our News it's all worth it.
This wasn't made in a vacuum. It is made with full acknowledgement that to allow it to have closed would have been a disastrous, catastrophic event in Grand Bahama in terms of the economy that would have had ripple effects throughout the Bahamas.
Turnquest raised more than a few eyebrows in Parliament last week when he revealed that over $16.1 million has been allocated for Lucayan Renewal Holdings, the special purpose vehicle for the Grand Lucayan. The government purchased the property in 2018 for $65 million, with an initial capital investment of $32.64 million, a move to save the jobs placed in jeopardy after the hotel was extensively damaged by Hurricane Matthew in 2016. Despite heavy criticism, Turnquest says the Minister administration stands by its decision.
It's not just those direct jobs. It is the overall economy and those persons and businesses that feed off that investment.
In March 2019, the government signed a letter of intent with Royal Caribbean Cruises and the ITM Group for the purchase of the resort for $65 million and the redevelopment of Freeport Harbor. Turnquest said the sale should be finalized shortly.
Whoever purchases it does not have to start from zero, and we believe that the partner that has been identified will provide the benefit to the economy and to the overall public purse that we anticipate or that we desire.
Can you say how soon we expect the sale to be finalized?
The only thing I can say is shortly.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Thanks, Kyle. Well, approximately 2,000 children have been orphaned due to the AIDS virus, according to a new United Nations report that also revealed that just over half of those people diagnosed with HIV are being treated with antiretroviral therapy. Jasmine Brown takes a look at the UN AIDS 2020 report.
The HIV/AIDS statistics outlined in the report reveal the Bahamas is still grappling with the virus that has impacted thousands of people, including children.
According to the UN report, which is based on 2018 statistics, 2,000 kids ages 0 to 17 are orphans due to AIDS. The UN describes AIDS orphans as children who have lost their mother or both parents to AIDS before reaching the age of 15. It also says approximately 8.2 million children around the world have been orphaned by the HIV/AIDS epidemic. The report also revealed that there are 6,000 people living with HIV in the Bahamas. Of that number, 5,800 are aged 15 and over. 2,600 are women aged 15 and up, 3,000 are men 15 and older, and kids 14 and younger account for less than 200 of the HIV cases. As it relates to HIV testing and treatment, the report also noted that only 52%, or 3,100 people, are being treated with antiretroviral therapy. 58% of women aged 15 and up are receiving treatment, while 49% of men in the same age group are also getting antiretroviral treatment, and only 21% of kids 14 and younger receive the treatment. When it comes to HIV prevention, the report noted that only 4.4% of the population between 15 to 24 has knowledge about HIV prevention. Young women knew less, with 2.8%, while 5.8% of young men had knowledge about HIV prevention. But it was not all bad news. The report also found that new infections were down, as well as AIDS-related deaths amongst women and children. It also found that the Bahamas is one of the Caribbean countries that have partially or fully adopted the WHO recommendation for the treatment of all people with HIV, regardless of CD4 count. It also noted the Bahamas, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, St. Lucia, and Suriname have laws criminalizing non-disclosure and transmission of HIV. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
As the Disaster Reconstruction Authority prepares to launch the long-awaited small home repairs program on February 10th, Managing Director Catherine Forbes-Smith vowed not to repeat the mistakes she claims were made under the previous administration. Smith said government will give out vouchers worth up to $10,000 for repairs and labor and will conduct its own inspection to ensure the work is being done.
It's just that the emphasis for us this time around is to make sure that the resources that the government is offering for the small home repairs are actually going into the homes. And we are putting some specific policies in place to ensure that the resources are going into the homes.
An Auditor General report on the program operated under the previous government found that contractors were paid for work that wasn't carried out on some homes. Forbes-Smith says the restoration of power supply appears to be the biggest concern for residents of Abaco, which was battered by Hurricane Dorian in September.
Well, you know, in Abaco it's different. We're in Treasure Key tonight, so the big concern is power and water. That's a very big concern for the people of Treasure Key. And besides just knowing when they're going to get power and water, for the residents of Treasure Key, there are issues with water generally, and so that's a big thing for them. Obviously, we had a town hall meeting earlier this afternoon in Marsh Harbor with the business community and the Abaco Chamber of Commerce. The discussions from the business people really speak to access and feels that there should be a lot more going on.
So to come on Our News, a former opposition leader slams cabinet minister's new travel perks. Stay tuned for that.
Phone is good. Internet is good. TV is good. But why just pick one thing when you can have everything with Trio? Only $99 a month gets you phone, internet, and cable. That's everything you need for $99 a month. Ask for Trio. Call 601-2200 or email residentialsales@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
Welcome back. Former opposition leader Loretta Butler Turner is blasting the minister administration's decision to increase travel expenses for cabinet ministers and their spouses. She says it's an insult to taxpayers who are buckling under the financial pressure of a VAT increase and impending hike in electricity bills. Berthany McDermott reports.
A blatant insult and assault. That's how Butler Turner described the government's decision to increase travel expenses for cabinet ministers and their spouses. She also called the move unnecessary and says government should rethink it.
It is a diabolical insult to the Bahamian people to have the cabinet of the Bahamas sit at this time when Bahamians are suffering from north to south, east to west, throughout the length and breadth of this country, for them to be increasing travel for spouses, which is totally unnecessary, and adding per diems.
The new travel policy for ministers includes $100 per day per diem for spouses, an increase in ministerial per diem for domestic travel from $80 to $100 per day, and from $150 to $250 for international travel. Ministers are to be afforded membership to the American Airlines Admirals Club, and paid spousal trips have been increased from once to twice per year. Butler Turner, who served in the cabinet of the last Ingram administration, says taxpayers should not have to foot the bill for a minister's spouse.
There's no excuse for any spouse, if they chose to accompany their cabinet minister spouse somewhere, for us to be undertaking their per diem, for us to be undertaking their airfare at this point.
The former F&M MP also slammed the new travel perks, considering Dr. Hubert Minnis heavily criticized the former Christie administration's travel while he was in opposition. Butler Turner said if the government is serious about transparency and its belt-tightening measures, senior officials should eliminate unnecessary spending.
One of the first things they would do is eliminate the frivolous stuff. They came to power very much vocal, vociferous against all of the overseas travel that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had done under the PLP administration, against what the Prime Minister and the Office of the Prime Minister had done, Perry Christie and those under their administration. And here we have it today, millions upon millions of dollars being expended for travel And for spouses,
in 2018, Prime Minister Minnis said only essential travel would be approved and promised reports of cabinet ministers' travel. To date, that report hasn't materialized. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Despite growing concerns over the high cost of living, Anglican MP Glenys Hana Martin says the Minnis administration has failed to assist the country's poor in a real way. This as she branded the Over the Hill initiative a failure. Giorgio Bain reports.
Anglican MP Glenys Hana Martin slamming the government for what she termed as their failure to initiate policies that would assist the most vulnerable in society. According to Martin, the government's current programs only frustrate and marginalize those in need.
I think that this administration has failed in this regard. They have not looked at the issue of poverty in this country in a realistic way, and to ensure that the social safety net, social services, the Ministry of Health, Education, that these institutions react more responsively to what is happening in this country.
With an estimated 12.5% of the Bahamian population said to be living in poverty, Hana Martin slammed the much-touted Over the Hill initiative, which she says has failed to assist those who truly need help.
It has failed. It is not alleviating poverty. It's not touching suffering. Its biggest project is the park, which can't seem to move along. The concessions are not touching people because they don't have the resources.
More than a year after the initiative came into effect, many business owners in the area claim to have not seen much of an impact. Well, the Anglican MP says the same goes for the government's economic empowerment zones.
If you are initiating a project to alleviate poverty in our country, how can you isolate it to a geographic area, which is Bain and Grandstown and Centerville, when you have other communities equally affected, suffering the same things? There are policy initiatives that could have been done across the board.
Hana Martin, whose constituency is in the inner city, said in recent months she's received several phone calls and messages from Bahamians complaining about being turned away from the public health care facilities due to a lack of funds. She urged the Minister of Health to look into the matter. Reporting for Our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Still to come, luxury yachts set to sail in for the Bahamas Charter Show. Stay tuned.
Phone is good. Internet is good. TV is good. But why just pick one thing when you can have everything with Tria? Only $99 a month gets you phone, internet, and cable. That's everything you need for $99 a month. Ask for Tria. Call 601-2200 or email residentialsales@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
Some of the world's most luxurious vessels will be on display later this month during the inaugural Bahamas Charter Show, set for February 27th to March 1st. The four-day event will include presentations by local industry experts, marina tours, and an invite-only yacht viewing. Tourism Director of Product Quality and Support Division, Dr. Kenneth Romer, says the ministry is placing significant emphasis on yachting this year.
On average, a single yacht visiting the Bahamas in a week can inject up to $1 million back into our Bahamian economy. The spend from yachting directly impacts our family island communities, and we certainly need all the assistance right now. As yachts cruise to the islands, many docking at choice marinas, therefore we see yachting as imperative in the diversification of our country's tourism product.
Stakeholders hope to raise $110,000 during the upcoming event to help fund the construction of a housing unit at the Ranfully Home for Children. Worldwide Boat President Sana Avora says the Bahamas and its sparkling blue waters were an easy choice for yacht enthusiasts.
There's no way for any broker to really get to know a destination unless they put feet on the soil. So they're coming here to gain knowledge about Nassau as a starting disembarkation point and an area that's very popular for charter. They're going to find out about all the marinas that are here that welcome charter yachts. We're kicking off the show with a Nassau marina tour thanks to the Bahamas Association of the Marinas.